Hi, everybody. It's Lynn Knight. I'm here to give you a little demonstration about the difficulty in cutting uncut sheets of national banknotes. I've preached about it in my catalogs for decades. So this is my first time doing anything like this, and I've been running around like a wild man all day trying to do things like get a crank for this machine so that we could actually try to crank it. And we've got the WD-40 out. It's in I don't know, in 2000, this machine, this Excel currency splitter company, made this lovely machine to cut up sheets and national banknotes. At least I assume it was done originally for national banknotes. I certainly have never, but I don't know what the patent date is. And when we looked it up, the only thing we could find about it was an address in Rochester, New York. So I guess the remote bank guys would go around and try to sell the cashiers on the merits of these machines about how they would do it so much faster than that pair of scissors would. Well, the only thing I can tell you is that it's pretty clear to me that it's not so easy to make them. It was not so easy to make them look good, and consequently, many of the notes that we've got that we've seen over the years were specifically the second charter date backs from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ozzie had 24 20s a few decades ago, and every one of them were just cut a little bit off. So as long as I've been selling these, I've been talking about the fact that they're cut off. Only most people aren't aware that there was ever a machine that did such a thing. As I recall, David Hansen from Fort Dodge showed up at a show in the 90s from Chicago and brought a machine. And that's the first time that I had ever, the only other time I've ever seen one. And then a few years later, I got this. So, yeah. So I've got some images that we'll run, taken, of course I took like decades to figure out exactly which images I wanted to show on this thing, because anyway, there we got the machine from the top, and there are 4 nameplates that are on, as you can see, on the back. And this guy is Buchanan. We've got the president was my gosh. Anyway, this fellow Buchanan, we actually figured out how to read that in reverse, and we got it. And the other guy that was a signer, Buchanan was the cashier of the bank, but it appears that this plate makes it look like he was the president at the time, but I can't, I can be backwards. It was the Ohio National Bank of Columbus. That's Charter 5605. The bank's not rare. But Edwin Buchanan, this fella that signed on here, he started in the public schools of Ripley, Ohio, and he graduated from Ohio State University, and I guess stayed around Columbus. He started out at the Union National Bank of Columbus and worked his way up to cashier, and was an examiner at the Columbus Clearinghouse. I wonder if I've got any of those notes in my 1907 panic script, but he wouldn't have signed it. He was there a little late. but he became a cashier and then the vice president. In 1929, he became the president of the bank. And this was how he signed his signatures. So back in the old days, we would have called this, I'm just showing this, we would have called the notes like this. We used to call those, but thinking that they were pen sign notes back in the 70s. You know, nobody cared very much. The prices weren't very high and it really didn't make much difference, but we tried to be accurate. But I didn't know they put them on with the machine. Sometime I figured out those fourth charter period notes were actually printed signatures when they took the line off. But that's what we got here. Now we've got some examples of how they managed to cut some of these things poorly. Everybody likes the safety fund circus poster, but you can just see how poorly this note's cut, and this might even be one of the best ones. But this OELWEIN is a much more typical note that I say would have been the product of a machine like this. And we have a couple more, right? The ALBUQUERQUE, you can see how poorly it was cut. But then on the other hand, this note was probably cut by hand, and I was probably just not thinking because they wouldn't have had a 4-note sheet to cut probably. And here's the PITTSBURGH. This is the bank that we see so often with this poor cut, and you can quite frankly see how it's done there. And now here's the one. This is what we're going to cut. I made several people called and asked what we were, they saw the back of it, and well, now you can read what it is. Obviously, it's our own little made up sheet that we made up for the IPMS 2020 show. And if we get any cut and anybody wants one, we'll try to get them one. Basically everything I've cut so far is someplace between bad and terrible. But we're going to try to get this machine in place. And I can't. Is it in view? Yep. All right. Anyway, we've got the machine is here. There's a wire. There's wires that come down to hold the notes in place, and it's not going to be very easy. But David, why don't you set it on, and we'll turn it. We'll try one this way to show you what. All I'm doing is proving how terrible these things really are to work with. But there. Now, how do you like cutting national banknotes? Where are they at? Where are we at? I don't see where we're at. Anyway, they don't cut. They don't cut very well on there. And let's see, this one we've got it upside down on top of everything else, upside down and backwards. So you can see they're not very easy to cut. Now, they would probably, them bankers would be a little more careful than this, this is why they don't let me mess with paper money, and why I don't fix paper money is because I don't know how. Anyway. Aha! We may have almost succeeded. Look at that. This almost makes its way. Could almost make its way into, might be good enough to put into circulation. But anyway, could you imagine having to deal with that all afternoon at the bank? Trying to see. what you could do. Look at this one here. We almost got this one into. This one almost might make a 63. Anyway, let's see. Let's do a couple more and see what we get. We're going to end up with some copies, if nothing else. You know, when I got interested in national bank notes, I would be trading notes with Dave Levitt, and we would argue over a quarter on whether it was $5.50 or $6 and a quarter or $10.75 or $11. But we argued over lots of quarters in those early days. And the interesting thing about it is whenever I would go to Sioux City to see Dave, we would go do business, and he was buying, I was selling. I mean, I was 17, 18, 19, something like that. We'd argue over quarters.
It's the first run cut.
But when we got done arguing over these quarters, which probably never amounted to more than $2, Dave always took me to the most expensive restaurant in Sioux City for lunch, and I could never buy. That was the thing in the old days, is that he would fight me for a quarter, but you couldn't buy lunch. And in my entire life, I was only able to buy him lunch one time, and unfortunately, that was probably the last time I saw him in 1977, when he was sick. But so that's what we got. We got.
I'm fired.
What you got? What?
I'm fired.
David says he's fired, but this doesn't look that bad.
Going.
Now this is all off the same sheet, guys. So next time you're looking at notes and going, I don't know what I got. Why are these so bad? Maybe we can have a little more sympathy for the bank cashier that was just trying to get them settled apart and everything. But let's see. If anybody has any questions that they want to ask me, my discussion of this beautiful machine is about to come to an end, because it doesn't work that easily and it's difficult. And I've shown everything that I can show about it. But
Who's responsible for cutting these notes? The bank cashier.
Well, we didn't, who was responsible for cutting the notes would vary from bank to bank. I'm sure that when you got to a big city bank, they had, they put titles. They just didn't give you any money. Everybody got a title. So it was probably an assistant cashier or an assistant vice president, or, they didn't call you the cook and bottle washer, I guess. So, but whoever they could get to do it, I guess. Yes, you can tell typically that it was not the president, because you'll see many notes that have a stamped president's signature and a beautiful cashier's, or you'll just have and then of course, once in a while you get those wonderful big signatures that everybody wants. And the guys that were really wanting to make a big statement.
Do you have any knowledge of what this would have cost back then?
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't have any idea what it cost. It cost me about $500 20 years ago, but they knew they had a sucker on the line, so that was okay. I guess if I only found one in 20 years, I can't be that big.
Colin Blythe wants to know how much it weighs.
Must be about 18 pounds, be my best guess. I think if you were going to cut a lot of notes with it, you'd want to have this on a fixed base. You'd want to, have it on a fixed base so it wouldn't move so much. Because, yeah.
Have you tried to print SIGs?
Oh yeah, we have printed signatures. Have we got any that actually we liked?
These came out probably the best.
This we've got in, let's see, I've got this guy's name here. That's the president was Edwin Buchanan, and the cashier was Emil Kieswetter, Kieswetter. And there's not much information on him except something that rather interesting as it compares to these times. The cashier was arrested for shooting somebody, but was it the mayor? Was that what, the mayor dismissed the charges because they said he was provoked, and that was enough to be okay to shoot somebody. We live in a far different world today, and I think that's pretty fortunate, actually.
Only one sheet at a time?
I think one sheet at a time. It looks like you could stack some in there, but you know, I think you'd screw them up in a hurry if you did. So,
Executive currency says sign those, auction those for charity. I know somebody would pay too much for one of the first miscuts.
there you go. There you go. Oh, I didn't think about that.
Do these machines turn up anymore?
I only know of this one and one other. I haven't seen one in, you know, it was 20 years, so I haven't seen anything since then. But
It's the same. How many do you think exist? Any rubber stamps for bank signatures in your possession? Ever had them in your sales?
no, I've never had a bank teller's rubber stamp signature. I did threaten to make some one time to put some rubber stamp signatures on a sheet that wasn't signed, that were single notes. There were single notes signed by the same officers, and I thought about having a rubber stamp made and signing and stamping those notes because I thought it would be better with signatures than without. But a lot of people might disagree with me, and I never did it. So,
Or small national bank notes cut the same way?
I've never seen a machine to cut small size national banknotes. They were shipped as sheets, but I don't think they were ever, anybody else ever did that.
Poorly cut notes are not worth a lot less.
Poorly cut notes are absolutely worth less than well cut notes. But as our mentor, John Hickman would have said, is halitosis is better than no breath at all. So if you don't have one, we might as well have one with a bad cut than no cut at all. But you also want to remember that when you go to sell it, if another one or two or three or four have shown up, it isn't going to be worth much when you get ready. But I'll take one personally. I want one. You know, I'd rather have the note and be able to replace it later than not have it, I think. If I was close.
Here, here.
Yeah.
This is a great question. Did they wait to cut the notes until they needed them? Which is why there are quite a few uncut sheets that still exist.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how you'd know that. If I thought about this last night, and if I was the banker and I had 500 sheets of my notes in the vault, I might only cut enough that I thought I would use for a while and leave the rest of them, because if somebody stole your uncut sheets, they probably would think they couldn't use them. So that's what I would have probably done. That's what I probably would have done. I don't know how anybody else was done. Everybody would do it different, I would say. So.
Stan Campbell said, when did you organize your first auction?
Huh. I would say that I started having auctions in the mid 1980s. After I got the Amon Carter material. The Amon Carter collection came up at a horrible time for a seller. a wonderful time for buyers, even though maybe they don't think that. And there was so much material that we just couldn't sell it all. And notes, a lot of notes were worth 20% of what they had been worth in 1979 and 80. But by the mid 80s, the inflation was all the way down from 21% interest to 15.5% interest in 83 or 4. And people didn't buy material because they could put the money in the bank and get more out of it.
Who was your lovely assistant doing the cutting?
Aha, that's Dave Conway, my ace, David Conway. If you call here, it's 50-50 that you're going to get David. He's the chief of just about everything except catalog layout, and Liz handles catalog layout, and she's the other one that's doing all the Zoom calls today for us.
And yes, I am lovely. Thank you. How does the machine ink the signatures? I think we got that far.
Well, we never figured out how to actually put ink into a tube or anything. We cheated. We used a Sharpie and just ran it through for lack of things today. I didn't spend my whole week doing this. I think we got a little more going on this week than just this, and I'm not that darned inquisitive. I owned it 20 years and I still got it. So I'm curious how they think this has gone today, if they've enjoyed it. I know there's some people have gotten pretty excited about it, and they're trying to do this on several different platforms. I'd be curious to hear what anybody else has to say about it, like what they might think would be better or worse.
Lynn, I'll answer first. I'm Steve.
Yes, Steve.
Nice to see you. I think it was a very good success because you got people from around the world able to come into this thing. I actually looked at the number of participants from time to time, and you were pushing 80 participants.
Yeah, pretty
That's
amazing.
very impressive. I think a good crowd when I'm at the show, and I love going to the show, of course, but a good crowd there would be 30 people.
Right, exactly. At the speaker series, we've had 30 people.
You see nationals going down right now or going up?
Nationals change like the wind. If you're looking for, people come in, they're looking for, Alabama, and they quit looking for Georgia, or they're looking for Georgia and they quit looking for Alabama, or they're only looking for, or you've got somebody that's coming in new and he's looking for everything, or you've got the guy that's been doing it for 40 years and he's got everything. So it's all, most collectors that I know, if they can find something for their collection, they want to buy it. And they're they're not, they already figured out if they can't afford to buy it, so that's kind of the way I say it anyway. So that's what I think.
Asked if there was a patent number. I don't think we saw one on here.
I don't think we saw a patent number on it. I guess they didn't sell enough. No, I don't see any patent numbers on it.
Hey, Lynn, do you mind if I say something real quick?
I don't mind.
I just wanted to say thank you. This was a very interesting demonstration, and I've been dealing with your auction house since the mid-90s, and I want to say your auction house over all of them have been, as always, the most fair. So I appreciate it. I hope you keep up the good work.
Well, I appreciate that. I like trying to be fair. That works for me.
The name of the machine manufacturer was the XL Currency Slitter out of Rochester.
Is it a splitter or slitter?
It's a slitter.
Oh, it's a slitter. I thought it was a splitter. No wonder I couldn't find it when I tried to do it on Google.
Will this last discussion be available anywhere? Yeah, we're gonna try and get these on YouTube.
We have 120 videos that we've done in the last 10 years of all the speaker series. And we are working to put them on a YouTube or a Facebook Live channel, one or the other. I've got somebody else working on it, and we hope to have those up soon. And we hope to do this again soon. I want to do it again. I think that I think it's a great way for people to get the chance to do it, and I'd love to have input. I know it's got to be very tricky if people all have their speakers on so that they can comment, then the noise can change and everything. So I think that it's always good to have one person talking or another, but it would be nice if there's a way to for everybody to know that, you know, so that you're not trying to talk over somebody else or instead of somebody else and one thing or another. So I'm hoping, and I want to do it. I want to do something and have and be offering merchandise for sale. That's my next thing, is I want to see if I can't get 5 or 10 or 20 people that want to do a presentation like this with PowerPoint or something and actually show things and have them for sale. We'll see if I can get that done. And if we do, I hope you all come by and listen to it. And maybe you can find something for your collection. Because most of you, the faces I recognize, you guys really collect stuff that I just get every day. So, you know, I don't have, you know, whenever I want it, I just go into the vault and dig into a shelf, you know, just so that I can have something. Oh, wait a minute. No, that isn't the way it works. Well, anyway, we'll try to get something and try to put something else together. And if 80 people think that it's interesting, then by golly, it was a shock to me. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was 5 or 10. So I appreciate everybody coming. And
Slitter is the correct term.
yeah, slitter is the correct term. Yeah, let's see. Somebody asked me how I first met John Hickman and started dealing with him. Well, that would have been, I guess it would have been at a Mid-Iowa Coinorama, probably in the mid-1960s. I probably was 14 or 15 and didn't know much about national banknotes. And while John Hickman knew quite a bit more than me, he didn't know that much either. But we all were learning a lot in those days and trying to put it all together. John never liked me because I wanted to make money, and he just, you know, he wasn't worried about the money side of it. He was already an adult, had a job, and didn't need it, you know, as opposed to me that was a 15-year-old kid trying to figure out how to make spending money to be a high school student. So anyway, that's where I met John. We spent, I don't know, a long time. It was well before he and Dean Oakes got together in their partnership and one thing another. But those guys taught me a lot in the early days. The Dave Dorfman was probably the guy that actually got me interested in national banknotes, and he would have been the same guy that got Dave Levitt interested in national banknotes. And we found out a lot about him in those days. But if there's no more questions, I'm going to get ready for an auction in an hour, because I think we're starting at 7 o'clock.
You got one Memphis story for us?
A Memphis story. Okay, we can do that. 1977. everybody was talking about putting together a paper money show that nobody had. Then Mike Crabb announced that Memphis Coin Club was going to be the sponsor, and they were going to hold it at the Rivermont downtown in on the Mississippi River in Memphis. Everybody else that was thinking about doing it just said, okay, let's go. We got a show. We're going to do it. We don't care who puts it on. So that's, I walk into the Memphis show in 1977 for the first time. And when you walked in, there was a row of seating on the left and a row of seating on the right. And when you had to walk to the whole back of the room, from the whole down the whole hallway to the back of the room to check in. Well, it took me about 3 hours to get from the front door to the check-in because I knew everybody. It was the most amazing thing in the world. It was all my friends, all my customers, all in one place, and they were all there to talk about paper money. And that's buy it, sell it, trade it, do everything we could. And from the very first day, nobody ever looked back. It was, I talked Ron Horseman into going from St. Louis that first year. And he kept saying to me, why would I want to go all the way from St. Louis to Memphis to go to a paper money show? And I said, you got to go. Well, I think he was at the first 42 or 43, and I think he missed last year. But I'll stop with that Memphis story. That's about as good. That was the beginning. The hobby needed it, and they embraced it, and we have for 40-some years. And look, we're here today in the middle of all this craziness in this world, and we were able to get 80-some people together to get a little information and learn something that we didn't know yesterday. And that's really appreciated. It's interesting to me personally because Steve and Ray Feller talking about the Japanese internment camps, it's like just a week or two ago, I was thinking to myself, who in America even knows that we put our own citizens into POW camps? I mean, that's just like way over the top to me. And so to have Steve and Ray talk about it without me ever knowing anything about it really made it interesting to me. So I want to thank them. I want to thank everybody else that participated. And I'm looking forward to being in Las Vegas next June. That's the plan. God willing, and the creeks don't rise, we can all be there. I think people will definitely come from all over the world if the conditions are suitable, because people like Las Vegas, and families like to go to Las Vegas, or wives like to go to Las Vegas, or keep an eye on somebody, or whatever the case may be. So we'll look forward to seeing you all then, and good luck if you're bidding in the auction tonight. And we put up 4 or 5 more auctions that went up last night or this morning. So if you haven't looked at those, those will be up until and closing in about 14 days or so from today. So
Lynn,
Yeah.
I'll say one thing maybe. I live about 50 miles from the Field of Dreams. So there was a saying from the famous Field of Dreams: if you build it, they will come.
well, they have come, and that's great. And we want,
Yeah, too, for Las Vegas.
yes, I get it. Okay, that's good. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.